close that arm, or you still use the tape?
It just ain't got a nut on it.
Duct tape.
What's going on, guys? I'm Daniel. This is the Cedar Ridge Chronicles. I really appreciate y'all coming and visiting my page. Today's September the 20th. I'm up here in Alabama in Zone D, the edge of Coleman County, and our bow season opens up here October the 1st. So what I'm wanting to do today, this past week we spent some time hanging some stands and pulling some stands. Some ladder stands from last year, going to move them and change them some places, did some scouting, did a little bit of scouting in some public land and on some of our leases in our hunting club. Also, I have got an arrow that I've tore the fletching off of. It's one of my practice arrows, and I was going to do a little basic tutorial of how to refletch an arrow shaft cheap and easy. I've got a Easy Fletch. I don't know if y'all have ever seen one of the Arizona Easy Fletchers. When I bought this thing, it was probably 20 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was. I probably paid $15 for it, 20 maybe. Then now they're about $50, which is still about $20, $25 cheaper than most of the single tower jigs that you find. The boning tower jig seems to have some of the best reviews. What I like about this is it's portable. The boning is portable also, but this one is so compact. It's plastic, it's light, it's very easy to take in a bag. I've got one of the these Primos bow bags, which I really like. I'm not sure if they even sell that anymore, but it has got all these compartments where you can put anything you need. I've got my cutters for my wooden arrows, my recurve in there, Fletch glue, you can fit your fletchings, broadheads, field tips, all my tools. I've got Allen wrenches, just about anything, bow squares to fix a bow, especially if you're on the road, if you're in another state or travel even to the hunting club. At least you'll have everything there, because you're going to have stuff break or something come loose. Sometimes your sight will be loose, you won't realize it, and if you don't have all that stuff there, then it can be very inconvenient, cost you a hunt or two trying to go somewhere and either get that taken care of or buying what you need to buy to fix it. Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to show y'all how I use this thing. It's actually spring loaded right here, and you can press this up and it goes over and locks in place, and these will open up. The way that it's instructed to use, when you put your arrow shaft down in there, you glue up your fletches, and when you shut that, it closes down on the shaft. I've done that in the past. That's how I started out using it, but I found that when you pull that down in there, sometimes this plastic piece has got a little bit of give to them, and sometimes I have a tendency to actually slide a little bit on the shaft, and you may have a fletch that's just a little bit off. So what I like to do, I'll take my arrow shaft, and it fits right down on there's a bar in there that the knock will fit on. You've got an odd color for your odd color fletch. You can take one of these, set it down here, and like I said, this is perfect if you're out on the road somewhere and you just need to fix a shaft. These fletches on the bottom side where they meet the shaft are concave shaped. They're the same shape basically as the shaft. And when you use your Fletch glue, you just want to make sure that you get full coverage on that entire Fletch. You don't want any bare spots, especially on the very ends. And you do want a little bitty bit of squeeze out. You just don't want too much glue because your glue will actually stick to this plastic. And when you try to pull it away from your shaft, it's actually going to pull the Fletch loose. What I'm using here, this is G5 G-Lock Blue Glue. I've used several different kinds of Fletch glue, and so far this is my favorite. It does a great job, and I've never had a Fletch come loose unless I've shot it off myself. Let me show y'all what I do here. Just take and put a little bit of this glue on this Fletch. And then pull that right up against the shaft, just like that. What I like to do is hold that for maybe 30 seconds. It may take a little bit longer than that, depending on with these shafts. I had to cut the wrap off of it and scrape the glue off and all, so the adhesion may not be quite as good as it is on a fresh shaft, but it usually still doesn't take very long. And once this cures overnight, it is almost impossible to get these Fletches off unless you cut them off with a knife. What I like to do is, after about 30 seconds, if you'll just pull a little bit, you can see if it's pulling the Fletch away from the shaft. If not, you pop that on loose. And you can see that right there. I mean, it's already stuck. Once you do that, take you a Q-tip. This will really help lock these in place to keep them from ever flying off. But there will be a little bit of squeeze out on the sides and on the front and back of that Fletch. If you'll take a Q-tip and just rub right down the edge of it and kind of smear that squeeze out right over the top lip, of that, where that Fletch meets the arrow shaft. And what that'll do is kind of roll over the top of that, and when it dries, it almost has a little place where it's holding itself down to the shaft. Instead of it just being between the Fletch and the shaft, you've actually got a little bit of a lip of glue over the top of that holding it in place. And a friend of mine showed me that years ago when I was young, and I've been doing it ever since, and it works very, very well. Anyway, that right there is all that it takes. I mean, within just a few seconds, you can have your arrows back fletched and ready to go, and not have to go and spend however much it costs now to have an arrow fletch. It's been so many years since I had them done, I don't even know how much it is, but for the cost of the Easy Fletch, like I said, it's about $50. You could do your arrows from now on. I buy these Blazers in 100 packs. They're relatively cheap. I can't remember how much I paid for these. I've had them for a while. 100 Fletches will last you a while, but it's so much cheaper than having them done. You can buy a cheap cut saw, a chop saw on Amazon that will do all your shaft cutting. It's very easy to do too. I do my own inserts and all, and I mean, if you've got an hour, you can do a dozen shafts completely, from raw shaft to completely finished in about an hour. That's what I would suggest doing to save you some money. And it's also nice to be able to fix your arrows whenever you feel like it, because sometimes you're going to shoot Fletches off, or sometimes you'll shoot a deer or miss a deer, and you might lose a Fletch. So it comes in handy to be able to go ahead and do that yourself. Something else I would suggest too, I've actually got two of these Easy Fletchers. They make a blue one that is a straight Fletch. This green one right here is a helical. I don't know the degree it is. Looking at it, if I were to guess, it's probably a 3. It could be a 5. But there's not, on the Blazer vein, they're so short, it doesn't show up enough on the shaft to look like it's a 5 to me. Straight Fletch got really popular years ago, and I shot a straight Fletch for 20 years. And I was having trouble with my shaft sticking in the target straight. And I've never taken my bow and had it paper tuned, and I don't usually get into a lot of bow shooting. I shoot my bow to strengthen my shoulder up and make sure that my sights are on before deer season. But I don't do a whole lot of practice shooting. And from what I had read, a straight Fletch, years ago they said, you know, it would fly further, flatter, because you didn't have all the wind resistance from the spin. But from some of the studies that I have read and looked at, seen some of the patterns people are getting at 50 to 60, 70 yards shooting a bow, the helical, a 3-degree helical, actually shoots almost identically flat to a straight Fletch. They said when you go to a 5-degree, you get a little bit more wind resistance and you start actually losing a little bit of yardage, flat yardage at distance, especially past 40 yards. So with a straight Fletch, if there's a crosswind blowing, your fletches don't move. When that wind hits that Fletch, it'll cause that arrow to kick sideways or up and down. Sometimes when it leaves your bow, I mean, it's not straight when it leaves your bow. And with a helical Fletch, that arrow starts to spin the second it leaves that string. So it stabilizes itself way quicker in flight, which is what helps it fly straighter further, just because it's able to quick catch a wind and take off, you know, going in one direction. Most of the mechanical heads that people shoot nowadays, most of them shoot just about identical to a field point. I always like to shoot one just to make sure, because there are exceptions, and that just 5 inches off at 50 yards can be a big difference. I've never shot at a deer past 43 yards, but I did kill an 8.2 years ago at 43, and hit the deer high. I didn't have it on film, so I don't know if the deer had ducked a little or what, but after target shooting with my broadhead, I was actually hitting about 2 inches higher than I was with a field tip at 40, which doesn't seem like a significant difference. But if you pull 2 inches or 3 inches high, or if the deer is at 43 and you shoot it for 50 or 45, that little bit of difference, plus you messing up with your stability, and you're in a tree stand with the wind blowing and with all that's going on with your excitement, it's very easy to make a bad shot anyway. So the better that you can hit with that bow, with that broadhead, the better off you are. You might as well check it, make sure that it's going to shoot, at least hit where your sights are while you're standing in your yard, because when you're hunting, all those rules go out the window. So with a helical, at least if you're shooting a fixed blade broadhead, especially a big one, it will actually stabilize that broadhead way quicker in flight. It would be hard to group, I imagine, if you're shooting a big fixed blade, it would be hard to group with a straight Fletch. Even though it's gotten popular, I think it would surprise you to see the difference. I know it surprised me shooting at 50. I mostly practice at 50 yards. I do shoot all of my pins at different yards, just make sure my sights are on, but I do all of my target practice at 50. That way when a deer comes out at 30, it looks like it's that much smaller, that much closer. It gives you a bigger target than what you're used to shoot. It makes me a little bit more accurate anyway. But anyway, that's what I would suggest, and those are my opinions on it anyway. It's what I like to do. Anyway, if y'all have enjoyed this video, or may be interested in learning how to do some different stuff, as deer season gets going, it opens, like I said, this next about a week and a half, and I really want to do a cape video. I'd like to do a cape and flesh video, as a matter of fact, and I might even also do a processing video. I was a meat department manager for about 20 years, and some of the advantages of being able to have worked in a meat department and then grown up deer hunting too, it really gives you a different perspective of how to break down an animal, how to process it to where you end up with the best results. You know, the more tender muscles, even as you break down the hind quarter, I can show how to do all of that muscle by muscle and kind of give an idea of what, you know, if you wanted to do cube steak out of one piece, maybe eat the other one, you know, on a grill or use it as a roast. Every muscle's a little bit different. And I'd really like to do that, so I'm hoping maybe I could get, if I can get me a doe soon, or if a buddy of mine kills a buck, I'm going to try to do some kind of video as we go on through deer season of how to break that animal down, how you want to cape it for taxidermy. A lot of people have no idea how to cape a deer to have it mounted, and it's very simple. There's just a right way and a wrong way. There's a lot of wrong ways. Usually the worst thing you can do is not enough cape, and a lot of people cut that deer in front of the shoulders. You never ever want to cut cape in front of the shoulders or in the armpits. The cape needs to come all the way back to the belly, and the cape needs to come off the armpits whole, with the whole shoulder and the forearm intact. With some of the new forms they've got out nowadays, the forms are bigger as far as length. They've got more shoulder, they've got an included brisket, the armpits are usually showing, and when people see a mount on the wall, they don't actually realize that all that is part of their mount. It looks like you just cut the hide off in front of the shoulders, but you've also got to have hide to tuck behind the deer to staple up, and the more slack that you get, it actually gives you a little bit extra to where you can tuck in the muscles and stuff too. So, but anyway, I'll get into that maybe, hopefully, if I can get me a buck, we'll get into that sometime this season. I've been fortunate enough to kill some in the last 7 or 8 years, so I'm hoping this year won't be any different. If not, I'm sure I know somebody that'll kill one that can bring it over, and we'll do a video for y'all. But anyway, please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button if you enjoyed this at all. But I've got a little bit of footage I'm going to show y'all of some scouting that we did this last week. We actually found a couple of rub lines on a logging road that's over a swamp that I think may end up being a pretty good spot, and then found another place that's in a little saddle that's got some really nice rubs in it already fresh from this year that I believe is going to pay off big time. But anyway, thank y'all, and we'll see y'all next time. You ready to roll?
Yep. At least one.
Yep. Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
One right there too is little. That's one on that little green tree.
Yeah, little rub there. Yeah, these are small rubs right here, but so this is definitely a buck travel route anyway. Coming down through here, if that is a rub, maybe I think it's a rub.
A little better.
That tree right there was rubbed last year or so. That tree's tore up. This turns into a different world right here. I mean, you've got another ridge that filters this way, which could be bringing deer to the other side of this cut over. I just feel like they're making a loop. I just don't think they're going in one direction.
Yeah. That's a big old tree too, man.
It's massive. I think I took you the picture of this bud.
Yeah. So you can see where it was, where he hit this side of it over here.
Yeah, there it is. That's what it looked like when he hit it. So he was hitting at me, and anyway, I came up here.